Well, here's the way this one went. I was at Core Motor Cars recently here in Vancouver, and thanks again to Core Motor Cars for letting me borrow this car for the day. And the owner said, listen, we've got this Ferrari coming in, do you want to drive it? And I'm like, I usually don't cover Ferraris. In the mid-engine cars, they all look the same. He says, well, you're in luck because this is a front-engine, rear-drive V12 with a manual transmission. Oh, well, you had me there. So this is sort of the end of the analog era for Ferrari, and it's something we're seeing in the whole auto industry. There's a whole group of enthusiasts who are going back now and grabbing sort of the last of the analog cars, naturally aspirated engines, manual transmissions, not all the nannies and aids. People want to buy these and keep these because we know where the auto industry is going. It's going to downsize engines, more automatic transmissions, and so on. So that's why not just Ferrari, but most brands where you have unique and collectible cars, they're getting picked off. And at Core Motor Cars, he told me that the prices of these, he said 5 years ago, nobody would look at a 550 Maranello. Well, there'd be some people, but he said the prices in the last 5 years have doubled for all of those reasons. So then I said, well, when do I get a chance to drive it? And he said, well, not yet. It's getting a full service done on it. So it's had a major service and all the belts done. So it took a while to get the car back. And here it is, looking absolutely gorgeous. The color of this one is Grigio Titanio. Love that. Also, it's just about to click over 22,000 kilometers. This car is 21 years old. It's a 2000 model and it's fully loaded. Of course, it's got the Ferrari crests on the front fenders. It's got a full leather interior. Tell you what, let's show you that and then we'll go for a spin. Okay, a little background on the 550 Maranello, and it tells you right in the middle above the radio that you're driving a Ferrari. And I love the prancing horse in the middle of the steering wheel. It is something special to be driving a car like this. So how many of these were made? Well, they were made from 1996 until 2002. This is a 2000 model, and 3,083 were produced worldwide. So that's not super low production numbers, but not a lot of them either, just over 3,000. This one has the carbon fiber racing seats in it. And you know what? You're seeing from a lot of mainline manufacturers, all this quilting they're using in their cars. Ferrari's like, that's so yesterday. They have been doing it for a long, long time. Look at the quilting in the rear parcel shelf. This car has that. It just looks so decadent. I'm not sure you would use the parcel shelf for anything other than decoration, but boy, does it ever look good. And these seats are snug and quite firm, but that's kind of what you expect in a car like this. And the fender shields on the outside with the prancing horse are also a very expensive option from Ferrari. But we're here to drive. Let's go for a spin. This has an aftermarket exhaust on it. Not sure what the brand is, but it's not obnoxious. It doesn't drone in the cabin. It just gives a nice throaty burble because you've got 12 cylinders at work here. 5.5 liter 12-cylinder with 485 horsepower. And it all goes through this manual gated transmission to the rear wheels. Now, when people think of Ferrari, often they think of the mid-engine exotic cars. Probably the most famous one would be the Magnum PI, the 308, and the 328, and then all the other versions that came after that. But really, some of the most collectible Ferraris are the front-engine early cars. Of course, the 250 and so on. Now, they're just absolutely gorgeous, but those are the cars that I like. I like front-engine Ferraris. I don't know why. I think because a lot of the mid-engine ones, they kind of all look the same. And this looks different, and I kind of like it. And I kind of like the whole idea of like a GT touring car, not just a flat-out performance car. Now, through the years, I've had a chance to drive some Ferraris, but not a lot of them. But my number one takeaway every time I drive one is that the inputs for driving are really quite light. Like the steering is very precise, but also very light. The clutch in this car is a little bit heavy, but not abnormal. And the throws, you get used to the gated shifter pretty quickly. But it's the way the car feels on its suspension is light and nimble, and that is kind of what I get every time I drive one of these cars. So as people start looking back at vehicles in different marques' history, and Ferrari certainly has some of the most famous vehicles ever produced, they start looking for things that are different and unique. And as I mentioned, the whole trend towards everything being like with the, the Formula One inspired transmissions, and now hybridization from Ferrari, and then they're going to be going full electric. There's going to be a time where V12 engines are not available new, and they're going to be more sought after. These things are not getting reproduced in big numbers ever again. Like a manual transmission, I think 2009 was the last year you could get a manual transmission in a Ferrari car. So that era has passed, and at some time the V12 era will pass as well. The smart money is on cars that are just not available anymore, and this is one of them. So when I picked up this 550 Maranello, I said to the owner of Core Motor Cars here in Vancouver, how many kilometers are on this? He said, it's just about to click over 22,000. I said, is that normal? He said, yeah, you'd be surprised. People who buy Ferraris, they drive them maybe 1,000 or 2,000 kilometers a year, and then you maintain them, and that's why they always look so fantastic when they come out of the garage 21 years later looking just like this. I just love the 18-inch 5-spoke wheels. This was absolutely correct for the era. They look small by today's standards, but make it a comfortable yet a great performing car. So this trend we're seeing in the auto industry of people going back and looking for models in a lineup that are unique, different, and especially with manual transmissions, especially the last of the sort of analog cars, they are getting picked up. And that trend, I don't think, is going to end. So thanks. I hope you like this. If you do, make sure to subscribe, because we do a fun, cool, or collectible car every Friday on the channel. And we'll see you next week.